Welcome, everybody. It is a special edition of Business Monday here on a Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock here at the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm Josh Fenton. This is the Secretary of Commerce, probably the best title in state government, Stefan Pryor.
Great to be back with you, Josh.
Absolutely. Let's see. We are in we're really in year 4.
We are.
And we're in month 9. And let's kind of go around the world. You're
Sure.
on a regular basis. We talk about all the issues. Let's talk about overall record employment in the state of Rhode Island.
You know what? For the past 4 months, we've set a new record. In the early summer, we broke the 500,000 job barrier. Rhode Island had never had 500,000 jobs within its borders. Now we're at 503,800. Each month it's been climbing. It's exciting, and you know this, but in 2013 and 2014, essentially the economy we inherited, for 7 months we had the highest unemployment rate in America. A very dubious distinction, the worst unemployment rate. Now, if you look at the drop between 2015 and 2017, we actually led the nation on a percentage point basis in the reduction in unemployment. We're at 4.1%, right about at the national average. Yeah. You know, employers are saying to us, actually, it's amazing, the economic momentum, and the one challenge they have is sometimes it's hard to find people who are looking for work for the jobs.
That's not a little issue.
It's
that's a big issue.
It's a big issue,
well,
and we're working on it.
Of those 503,000,
yes.
How many are working up in Boston?
No, those are jobs contained within Rhode
Just
Island.
within the state
That's
of Rhode Island.
actually jobs in Rhode Island.
And then how many more are traveling up Route 95 and on the MBTA?
Definitely thousands, and that's healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, the truth of the matter is, one of the strengths of our geography
Right.
is that we're interconnected with Boston, and for that matter with New York. But there are thousands more who work outside our borders.
Okay, let's talk about the job situation. I think what you're seeing is some businesses are constrained in part because we don't have the workforce and because of the quality of the workforce. And that's an ongoing critique across the board. We hear it from our advertisers and other business folks who come in and talk with us.
Part of it is a good problem to have, which is that we're in an increasingly tight labor market because the economy is getting so good, and it's about time. And part of it is that people want to reposition for the jobs of the future. So under Scott Jensen, the governor has ensured that we have
Scott Jensen is the Department of Labor and Training.
Department of Labor and Training director, and he's doing a great job. And we're creating a suite of programs for companies. And what does that mean? That means that Rhode Islanders who are looking for a retooling and upskilling to just be able to do the jobs that are out there, they can find that training today. You know that there are expected 1,300 new jobs at Electric Boat alone. Yeah. And we've actually put a constellation of programs around Electric Boat to make sure that we are providing them with Rhode Island talent, with Rhode Islanders who are ready for work, and we're doing that across the board in different industries.
I was down with a sponsor, Green Development. Mm-hmm. Green Development has roughly about 50 employees. Mm-hmm. They are looking to double that immediately.
Awesome.
They are also looking to add upwards of 300 contractors, freelancers, to build out their existing approved projects that they're trying to develop across the state. They're having job fairs here and there and everywhere to try and create their own momentum. What do you say to those folks? They need electricians. There are not enough electricians to be able to realize and turn the economy green. And you don't need Invenergy if you've got enough solar and wind. What do you say to those? And are we forward thinking enough? We're catching up a little bit.
We have to do more, there's no doubt about it. We need to build a long-term pipeline of workforce, and we need to do right now what we need to serve the employers and our Rhode Islanders who are seeking employment. On the long-term front, look, under Governor Raimondo, she has placed in every public school computer science programming, computer science instruction. Pretty phenomenal, first in the country that's going to reach that goal. We've partnered our comprehensive public high schools through something called P-TECH across the state, a half a dozen high schools, with employers and with Community College of Rhode Island, so students can graduate with free CCRI degrees, and they have a curriculum that's done with the employers. And then there's the Real Jobs program.
Right.
You know the Real Jobs program, but I mentioned that because you mentioned industries, green and sustainable energy, wind energy in particular. We're building partnerships with the private sector, with the actual employers who are telling us what training dollars should do to help Rhode Islanders get the jobs.
I watch a lot lot of Law and Order. So you open the door on Governor Raimondo, right? You open the door, I can follow in. Here's the question. We're in record low unemployment, and I don't mean for you to be a political pundit, but is this recovery equal, right? Here we are, governor, smart woman, first woman governor, record employment, cranes in the sky, maybe not as many as the seaport. What's the disconnect with the level of satisfaction of Rhode Islanders? And is it, listen, I own a house, I have some money in the stock market. This economy, whether it's Gina Raimondo's or Donald Trump's, pretty good to me. I'm up 40, I am literally up 40%, and I did no work. I'm up 40%. Yeah. I don't have a house, and I'm a renter, and I don't have stocks. I'm down in the last 2 years. Everything got more expensive. National Grid went up. Everything went up. How do we flatten that out? How do we make that more equal over the next couple of years?
Well, I think, first of all, in recent years, we've finally been adding job at the clip we should. 21,000 new jobs under Governor Raimondo, reaching that record 503, 800. We're really grooving now. It does take some time for people just to feel it, just for it to be part of the psychology of any community.
Yeah.
That's part of it, I think, because Rhode Island was so lethargic in coming out of the Great Recession. Before the governor got here, frankly,
that's been
and was able
every
to get it
cycle.
going.
I mean, regardless of who's the governor or who isn't the governor, we're always last out of the recession. We're always first in.
But
How
now
do
we're
we
leading the
break
way
that
in
cycle?
positive indicators. We led the way on unemployment reduction across the country. We're leading the way on earnings growth. That's average weekly earnings. In 2017, January to December, the highest rate of growth in wages and other earnings on that measure. Rhode Island, number one, not top tier, number one. We're also expanding our employment base. The labor force is actually growing at the same time unemployment is dropping. You take all those things together, very healthy signs. Does everyone feel it at this point? Of course not.
No.
And one of the things that the governor impresses upon us and says everywhere she goes is, we will not rest until every Rhode Islander does feel it. That means more training linkages.
Yeah.
More training that's tailored to the jobs we are creating and the jobs of the future that have yet to be created. More in the way of education. CCRI is up, what is it? Is it better than 40% increase in enrollment?
It is, but also we broke the story a few months ago. Those kids they're just not ready. I mean, they're not hitting their milestones.
That is a part of the project.
They get 2 years of free tuition.
Right.
They're at least 3 years of educational need. Let's skip to the next issue.
If you're saying, no, listen, if you're saying
I
not
think
every
so.
problem has been solved,
Yeah.
that's the point. And what the governor is saying is, we must complete this mission. We've gained in strength in so many dimensions, in so many ways.
We've got to fix K through 12. If you ask anybody in the state, in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, what's the core to their success over the last 30 years, it's been their investment and their accountability on K through 12.
There's work left to be done.
And they're only now talking about potentially having a free tuition community college program. Let's go around the sphere. Wexford's being built.
Yes.
Some of the others. GE's a troublesome company, not caused because they came to Rhode Island.
Thankfully not here.
Yeah.
Not troubles, anything but, as a matter of fact, here. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Still around 50 jobs?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're very
They've got a milestone of 100 by February?
They do. So let me touch upon, you mentioned essentially the 195 district of Wexford first. I know anyone who's driven through the old jewelry district, we now call it the Innovation and Design District. Anyone who's driven through, you've seen that 195,000 square feet coming to life. Not only has the steel been framed, but the facade is being built out. It's gorgeous, and it's really creating a new future, not only for the capital city, but for Rhode Island. But around the corner, literally, you have over 170 residential units being built in River House.
Yeah.
A whole new neighborhood, an innovation district, is being built, and it's working. Johnson & Johnson is moving in. Brown is helping to anchor it, and Cambridge Innovation Center, which is an incubator that's going to help new ventures get created.
Right.
It's really important. And now you hear, Brown is stepping up in concert with some Israeli universities and with Mass Challenge, the competition for new ventures, and they are joining together to see, can they plug in and create even more incubation activity, meaning new companies for the future. So it's really exciting. as to the companies that have expanded or landed in the past several years, GE is one of them. By the way, it's phenomenal. We're up to 29 companies bringing, on a net basis, $150 million in new revenue.
But we've also lost some companies.
To Rhode
I
Island.
mean, this isn't
Let me answer your first question,
Yeah.
though, on GE. They are obviously a
Well, I
company.
asked it a while ago.
Well, I'm getting to it. You asked a bunch of stuff. GE is restructuring, of course, globally.
Yes.
But one of the centers of excellence, one of the centers that has been stable, not to say it will be forever, not any business unit can be dependent upon in that way, of course. But we get rave reviews about how it's going in Rhode Island.
Okay, but they were supposed to be at 100 jobs in February. We're at 50 jobs. They've been stagnant.
Well, let's see how they do.
They've been stagnant at 50 jobs for a good 6-7 months.
Well, one of the things is I actually think there's space constrained in their facility. So we'll see when
So
they make
let's
big
talk
moves.
space.
Yes.
We broke a number of stories recently, one of them being on One Financial Plaza, the old Hospital
Yes.
Trust Tower.
Yes.
Recently sold. It sold for about $15 million less
Yep.
than it had previously sold for in 2007. Citizens headquarters building, they don't own the building, is up for auction at the end of this month. Up the street, Joe Paolino just picked up what's called the Federal Building. It's not, it was privately held. Sold in 2007 for $23 million. He picked it up in the bankruptcy court for $8.9 million. Those 3 buildings alone are going to cost the city of Providence after they get reevaluated, and may trigger some other folks to say, hey, listen, the value of these towers.
Yeah.
What's going wrong there?
Well, I do think
Is it
there
the
are,
shift of work? Is it
I
where
think-
people want to have their offices?
I think it's a variety of things, as with anything significant, but I think, first of all, old style, old school office complexes do lose value or have lost value. There are different kinds of floor plates, technological installations that are expected. So Providence may be losing value in these instances and
Yeah.
gaining enormous value in the creation of Wexford and the accompanying
Yeah.
residential development. I mean, that's a healthy economy has that ebb and flow. That's number one. I would say also it's simply the lingering after effects of a great recession that especially hit Rhode Island hard. It's why it's so important that we keep investing in industries
Yeah.
and investing in training that makes us competitive so that we end up ahead of the pack if ever there is another recession.
Well, there's going to be another
Of course
recession.
there is.
It's going to be in 12
Yep.
and 18 or 24 or 30
Correct.
months, and vulnerable cities like a Providence. Listen, Boston, you could have the ugliest old building from 1952. That thing's going to be packed and getting $70 a square foot.
Yeah.
These buildings, which are considered Class A down here, are struggling to get $30 a square foot.
Correct.
So, there's some issues. We haven't got everything fixed quite yet.
No, by no means. Again, that is our point.
Yeah.
Which is that the momentum is remarkable.
Yeah.
We've come from behind on all of these measures. Frankly, on GDP growth, there's been terrific GDP growth nationwide. Who's leading the way in the east, in the northeast, in the entire region? Rhode Island, Q1 this year versus Q1 this year across that period of time. And we're 10th in the nation for GDP growth over that period of time. What I'm saying is, even as the nation is getting
Absolutely.
to a healthy point,
Yeah.
we are getting especially healthy. We are accelerating to our position. Are there things we still need to fix? Absolutely. That's what we're trying to do.
Let's talk about Superman.
Yes,
Always your
please.
favorite. It is not the. It is still vacant.
It is.
You don't own all the 5 years plus. We're in the 6th year, I think now. I know there are some discussions. There've been ongoing discussions over the past few years with a range of different companies. What is the single? If you had a magic wand and could fix one thing about it, is it the public appetite to put money on the table to an out-of-state developer? Is it just the absolute cost of the infrastructure? It's got to be $100 million now.
It is those factors. I'll say it's some very straightforward points too. It's about 380,000 usable square feet. That's a lot of square footage.
That's a lot of square
I would say if when Bank of America left, they vacated the entire building.
Yeah.
If there had been some residual tenants, that would be different. But the problem is you can't just light up the building with one floor being occupied.
Right.
That's part of the challenge. And it's there are other cities that have faced this, other states that have faced it. What we are blessed with is that the floor plates at the base, we've talked about this together, the podium of the
Yeah.
building, it's about 20,000 square foot floor plates. Those are very utilizable. Those are really optimal for a lot of the current company expectations. So we're in good shape that way. Does the top of the building want to be something that looks like residential or a hotel or another use, a conversion? It does. So you need to figure out the right combination of uses to make that whole building work. We are blessed with the fact that there continues to be market interest. What do I mean by that? We continue to be approached by people, and
Right.
frankly, we're reaching out to them, so
Right.
it's not a passive process. And we continue to hear that there is interest in this building. So stay tuned. We always said it's not going to happen overnight, but we remain optimistic that there will be solutions for the Superman building.
And I think that's really the linchpin to bringing back the downtown area. It is more crowded, harder to find a parking place on a Saturday or Sunday than it is during the weekday.
It may be a problem, but it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, right. Tourism is going well. It's another great record year in
Yes,
tourism.
it is.
Spectacular weather. The campaign seemed to go well. Volvo was a nice boost. Volvo got sold to a Spanish company.
It did.
What happens next with that franchise? And is Rhode Island in a good position to retain having that event come back to Rhode Island?
First of all, tourism generally, with thanks to the boost provided by the fund-sized effort,
Yeah.
the fund-sized messaging, we're seeing a 10% increase, maybe it's 9% increase in hotel tax receipts. Terrific stuff, and I think that's pre-summer.
Yeah.
Okay, so we may see even better. Really good numbers, as you're saying, and a lot of good responses. By the way, big thanks to the local tourism bureaus and to a lot of partners. On Volvo, another very successful Volvo year. We had over 100,000 visitors to Newport and beyond.
And a lot of rain.
And a lot of rain, suppressing, so we didn't hit a record, but still over 100,000. Very healthy, rave reviews
Yep.
for how Rhode Island and Sale Newport in particular. Brad Reed, thank you, and Janet Coit at DEM, terrific job. So now Volvo is likely going to restructure the race.
Right.
There's interest in what's going to happen with the sponsorship. Literally, the sailing vessels, will they be the same? Will the
Right.
teams be structured differently? Everything's apparently
the
up for
table.
grabs, but we think that because we've had such a successful run, really one of the sailing capitals of the world, we don't have to prove it to anyone, we know it to be true. We're very competitive for the future.
Brad Reed's a key player in that whole industry. And leveraging him and his connections are a key component to it. Let's jump over. The Innovation Center got funded by state voters a few years ago.
Innovation Campus.
Yeah, the Innovation
Yes.
Campus. Where are we with that?
Very positive process so far. So the Innovation Campus bond was $20 million. It was placed on the ballot and it passed, and it enabled us, in partnership with URI and potentially other universities, to create new physical nodes for innovation activity. It need not be at a college campus. It could be. It would have to involve corporate partners. So we went out with an initial inquiry to actually tell the market, to inform us on how to shape the process.
Right.
Then we went out for a formal request for proposals. We got 16 high-quality responses back. Some of them with global participants that we'd never seen before.
Right.
Some of them with local companies that are making it happen. Agriculture, information technology and high tech, bioscience, they're all in there. So we're in the selection process. I can tell you we've gone from the paper or electronic paper for a section of the process through to in-person interviews. We're heavily into those interviews, which, let's face it, they are in part negotiations.
When's this thing going to get done?
I would say early fall is the likelihood.
Early fall. Right.
Early to mid-fall, I would say, is the more accurate way to express it.
Hasbro, GoLocal broke in September of last year. Hasbro's looking to potentially consolidate its 3 campuses in Rhode Island. In November, December, got a little more information that one of the options that they were looking at was Superman. I think that's fallen by the wayside a little bit. They're looking at some other locations in the city area. Anything to report on Hasbro?
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report,
nothing to
which
report.
means he has a lot of information that he's just not allowed to talk about.
You give me so much credit. You give me so much credit.
That's a game changer. Bringing a creative campus downtown, that level of company, a company that's doing unbelievably well. Toys R Us closure was thought to be a big speed bump for them. The stock is up.
It is up.
Performance is up. Sales are up.
Kudos to Brian Goldner, who's a superb CEO.
And it might have helped them actually innovate faster instead of being dependent on an old line distribution channel. Let's jump over to the Paw Sox. Information is now beginning to emerge that maybe, oh maybe, we got taken for a little bit of a ride by Larry Lucchino and his friends over at least the last 12 months, that they really were always going to go to Worcester, at least in the last 12 months time period. That's coming out of some of the media in Worcester as documents are becoming unveiled. What's the lesson we learned from that? Did we bend over backwards too much? Was there, I think there's been criticism of the lack of unity of our leaders, the governor, Senate President Ruggiero, and Speaker Mattiello, that the lack of cohesiveness of the three of them going and saying, hey, here's our best offer, stay or don't stay, kind of hurt the process, allowed them to play everybody for months and months and months and months.
I think there's some truth in what you're saying, and I don't have perfect information on what did or didn't happen in terms of Worcester, but I think there's truth in what you're saying. What I would emphasize is those factors are probably contributing factors, but there are some others that we have to acknowledge every time.
Yeah.
The ghost of 38 Studios, the fact that a baseball-related exercise, investment just doesn't feel right to the public, and then very specifically, the rollout of the possible Providence move, which was initiated by these new owners. It was a disaster, and it, I think, permanently tainted the effort in Rhode Island.
I think there's
now,
one other
having said that, under Governor Raimondo, working with Mayor Grebian, we negotiated a deal that would have been revenue positive for the taxpayers of Rhode Island and would have kept the team here, and they were saying they would do that deal. And it was one of the best deals, it may have been the best deal ever negotiated in AAA ball from the perspective of the taxpayer, with a majority payment, a majority investment from the private owners. That deal, it passed muster with the governor, it passed literally the Senate with some minor modifications. So, we wish that had happened. Now, having said that, I do want to look to the future, Josh, and I think this is really important. I actually just came from lunch.
Back over a little.
Just came from lunch with Mayor Grebian.
Yeah.
We see each other a lot. We work on a lot of things. This is not purely because, by any means, the Paw Sox, but I think that under Governor Raimondo, working in partnership with Mayor Grebian, we will bring new sporting activity or other entertainment activity to Pawtucket. It'll be meaningful, and it may not be overnight.
Right.
But there's already interest. Let's put it that way. Are we in conversations? We absolutely are, thanks to the governor working with the mayor. And I think that we will also find new purposes for some of the properties that we were talking about. Again, not overnight. These things don't happen instantaneously, but we need to start looking forward and focus our energy on the future. And you know what? Worcester may come. I don't understand their deal intricately, but they may come to regret it. It's a very rich deal.
Couple things. I think there's a missing component, and I think most of the elected officials got it. Ghost of 38 Studios was part of it. I think the voter, the citizen who really never got behind any of this, said, why are we investing in a sport that is decreasing in popularity every single year, both at the top level and at the minor league level? And that it actually showed some level of sophistication by the public. Experts around the country, top academic experts say, bad deal, always a bad deal. Whether it's the best bad deal in minor league baseball, there are always bad deals. And after the first 2 or 3 year bump, the attendance continues to drop and drop and drop.
I do think that at the Slater Mills site, with its highway exposure, with the potential catalytic effects, with the really disproportionately private investment that was going to happen, with also 50,000 guaranteed square feet of commercial development beyond the ballpark that we had bargained for free, with no public investment. I think it was not only, it wasn't just the best of possibly bad deals. It was a good deal for the taxpayer. It was the right thing to do. Having said that,
I'm going to go halfway
that
there.
version,
I'm going to give you congratulations
that version
on
didn't get done.
Negotiating the best bad deal
That
in
version
minor
did
league
not
baseball.
get done. It would have been the right thing to do for Pawtucket and for Rhode Island. But Josh, if what you're doing is expressing that there are doubts about different versions of it, depends upon the league, the version of
100%.
baseball in America. Yes, some would argue the contrary, and there's evidence. We don't have to get into it today. There are versions of baseball that are thriving, that are doing well. But having said that, I deliberately use the term sports and
Yep.
entertainment.
Right.
And if you are asking implicitly, are
You're
we
going to
looking
bring
to
the
other
Warwick musical
are we
tent to
looking
protect. Let's just talk quickly.
to others? We are. We are.
Couple
To other
quick ones.
alternatives.
Kate caught up with Governor Raimondo, I don't know, 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, on the issue of the New England Revolution's need for a new stadium. They're under mandate. They're now behind, I think, 2 years. They're the only MSL team, Major League Soccer team, that is not in compliance with having a soccer dedicated stadium. There's a lot of pressure on them. She had talked to one of the Crafts earlier in the year, Kate had, and said, hey, listen, we have to have a plan by the end of the year. They've been pushed around Boston on numerous occasions. The governor said, hey, we spoke to them. They seem to be Boston-centric. Why in juxtapose minor league baseball decreasing, old sport, tired sport, Chicago White Sox and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers during the regular season had a game in the new Chicago White Sox stadium that had 795 people this year. You couldn't have a better sports team for this population in this region, fast growing, millennials love the game, it's international, it's global. Where are we with that?
We truly are looking at athletic enterprises, sports options, plural. And when I say that,
I'm going to narrow
is
you
soccer,
back.
is soccer included? You don't have to. Is soccer included? It
How
is.
do we get the New England Revolution to build a stadium in Rhode Island, whether it's in Pawtucket or Providence? How do we get them to do that?
We're not going to aim for things that are impossible, because we want to aim for things that are feasible. At least at the moment, probably permanently. The Kraft family and the sports organization that is the Revolution are looking to Boston. So we're not going to waste their time or ours on something that is a fool's errand.
Worcester stole
However,
however,
we're going to look at every option that's real. And is soccer one of the areas, one of the possible sports that we're exploring? It is.
in New York City, there are 2 Major League Soccer franchises. In LA, there are now 2 Major League Soccer. Can New England support 2 Major League Soccer franchises?
One of the areas that we're exploring is soccer.
And that would probably be the tier below, which is functionally the feeder structure.
It's remarkably premature to go further. It really is. But we are having conversations, they're active, and we're encouraged that, not overnight, but that there will be new sports and entertainment activity in Pawtucket.
Are you worried about John Robitaille taking your position?
I am so encouraged about what we can do in a Gina Raimondo term too. I really am. And the fact that the groundwork has been laid, but as you are correctly pointing to, there's work yet to be done, that's the exciting part of it.
Just to wrap up, and don't want to drag you into the political stuff, but if there's one thing over the 3 3/4 years you wish you had done slightly differently, maybe in prioritizing or communications, what would it be?
I'd say it really is a communications point, and frankly, I'm glad you framed it that way. From the very beginning, we not only talked about, but took actions and invested in small businesses co-equal with the investments in larger businesses, helping them relocate, helping them expand. We have the first that anyone can remember small business loan program in effect.
Right.
We have a business assistance effort that's a concierge effort to help small businesses. We've knocked out regulations that are blocking the way for small businesses. We have an innovation voucher program that helps small businesses get what they need from universities and hospitals in the way of R&D, research. I'll stop the litany. My point is, we're doing a lot around small businesses. I'm pleased to report to you, Josh, we're at our 65th small business loan. We've exceeded 60 innovation vouchers. We're well over 120 small businesses being helped with that access to capital. We just had Family Cake open here in Providence. And I think they're coming on one of your shows, as a matter of fact, next week.
Yeah.
And
did you bring samples?
and we offer it to our viewers.
Yeah, that's
it would be
right.
impossible through the electronic means. So we have a lot going on with small business, and I would say on a messaging basis, it's natural that when you land Johnson & Johnson, when you expand Electric Boat, that gets the headlines. But Family Cake is very, very important. and the fact that we're able to now, with over 120 small businesses
and
all
God,
over,
I
help
mean,
them thrive.
Right,
it
and
matters.
5 or 10 family cakes is equal to GE.
Yeah, that's right.
And
By the way,
better stock performance.
well, you know, the other thing I want to note is there's I think it's Value Penguin. There are these peculiar names for these measures. Just came out and said that not top tier. Once again, Rhode Island's leading the way. #1 in the country, single best state for business survival, small business survival, meaning that I think it's better than 74% of businesses make it beyond the second year mark.
Right.
That's because there are now loans, there is technical assistance, and very importantly, the Raimondo economy is doing a lot better.
I'd also say we're a gritty lot here, and there's no option. There's no safety net. You better figure out a way to make your business go.
How about the fact that the modern media, the nimble electronic media, are helping to promote small business?
Yeah, absolutely.
How about that?
Listen, thank you very much. Always an education.
My
always
pleasure.
a great dialogue. Appreciate you coming on.
Glad to be with you, Josh.
And I think you covered just about all the major
Can I
issues.
hit one other thing, by the way?
Yeah,
This
can.
blockchain.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, and I hope you don't mind,
No.
you have been an advocate for exploring the blockchain economy. GoLocal's been a partner with some private sector actors aimed at promoting the blockchain economy in Rhode Island. I just want to share with you, you know this, but I want to share with you on the air, we're seeing a lot of interest.
Yeah.
We all have to be cautious and make sure that we are protecting the consumer,
Right.
protecting the taxpayer, as we will. But there's interest in Rhode Island. So
By
when we talk about
major players.
major players,
Right.
and that's because the economy is good, that's because our universities present great pipelines, that's because we're doing computer science in our schools, it's all those things at once. But it's also because Rhode Island can come together, and
Absolutely.
GoLocal is one of the stakeholders that's helping to bring us together for that exact purpose. So I want to say thank you.
No, I appreciate it. Listen, everybody, thanks for tuning in to the special edition of Business Monday here on Friday. Have a great weekend. I want to thank Stefan Pryor for taking the time
Glad to
to
be
come
with you,
in
Josh.
and cover just about everything going on. Listen, we'll be back on Monday with Small Biz, and then we'll be back at the 4 o'clock hour as well.